An enemy of your enemy is your friend. I think that's the saying. And so what I experienced at the end were all of the enemies teaming up for the mass destruction. It was biblical. I mean, you can't make up the shit that went down at the end. It was crazy. All right, chapter 16. This is the last field guide. This is the end of the story. The epilogue actually will go into my final thoughts, but there's no field guide there. And so, lots of valuable lessons on this one. An enemy of your enemy is your friend. I think that's the saying. And so, what I experienced at the end were all of the enemies teaming up for the mass destruction of Tessie Mays. It was biblical. I mean, you can't make up the shit that went down at the end. It was crazy. And again, you look into human behavior and greed and people's character and trusting your gut and pursuing your dream and how hard that actually is. And then it doesn't turn out the way you thought. And that part took a while to process. Obviously, it took hundreds of pages to process. Hence this book. Here are the field guides from the end. What you need to know. Just do what's right. It's not rocket science. How to do it. There will be moments when you can line your pockets and fuck someone over. Everyone has those moments. And in that moment, imagine this is the movie of your life. And everyone you've ever cared about is going to watch the film. How do you want them to react during that scene? How will you feel in the movie theater sitting next to them? Make the decision with that in mind. So in the end, I had a couple different opportunities to just fuck everybody over and just line my pockets. And I did not do that. I thought about how I would feel. My gut, when I heard it immediately, there was like an alarm going off. It was like, do not do this. I don't care what it is. I don't care how much money it is. You cannot leave the people behind that helped you get to this point. It doesn't matter how much money or how much protection you're allegedly going to be getting. The people that are offering you this deal are not good people, and they're going to find a way to kill you eventually. And so when I really thought about it, it just came down to, no, I need to do what's right. When my kids read this story, they're going to know that I did what was right, and I can look at myself in the mirror and I can live with myself. And that's the decision I made. And it wasn't a cheap decision. I had to write checks to a lot of people for a lot of money. But I can look at myself in the mirror and say, I did everything that I could do with honor, and I left no stone unturned, and I didn't fuck anybody over, and I tried to do what was right until the very end. And that's important to me. It may not be important to other people. It's important to me. What you need to know, every action has a greater reaction. You need to layer that in. during conversations and decisions. You can't assume that people are going to do what's right and what is expected. And so I started thinking about, well, if I do this, what's twice the reaction look like? What does a 3x reaction look like to this situation? And that actually really helped me put in perspective how serious these decisions were and what was I willing to do or endure for this specific decision. And I think that that's important to think through because so often we think about for every action there's a reaction. You get punched in the arm, you punch somebody else in the arm. Not you punch somebody in the arm and someone whips out a samurai sword and chops off your arm. That's not the reaction we're expecting. That was the reaction that I started seeing happen towards the end. And so I had to change the way I thought about the decisions I was making and then what the consequences to those decisions were going to be. What you need to know: watch out for the scorpion. When I was trying to figure out how the hell all of this was happening, I stumbled across a fable about the scorpion and the frog. Once upon a time, there was a scorpion who wanted to get across a river but could not swim. So he asked a frog to carry him. The frog wasn't so sure, concerned the scorpion would sting him. The scorpion promised not to and pointed out that it would be stupid to kill his ride. Then they both died. The frog decided this was sensible and agreed. Halfway across, the scorpion stung the frog. As they both sank, the frog asked the scorpion, why did he do it? Dooming them both. The scorpion replied that he couldn't help it. It was his nature. The moral of this story: once you identify the scorpion, keep them away. It doesn't matter if the scorpions say they've changed, they have not. Behavior is consistent and always will be. Talk is cheap and scorpions kill. Just remember that. Again, so much of this journey has been taking a belief system that was developed in normal living experiences, born in 1983, have two loving parents, two brothers, went to public school, played sports in high school and college. You're taught lessons. You learn through your experiences. You think you got a pretty firm grasp of the world and reality. I had a couple jobs, had a little bit of financial success in the grand scheme of being in my early 20s. And in reality, when you get into building something of substance, you have no idea what it takes and what these experts are willing to do to take what you have and make the most amount of money off of you possible. Because it doesn't make any sense. Nothing that I had experienced up to that point even resembled anything close to what happened from 2009 on. But the greatest part about it all, and why I'm in business still and launching brands and helping people, and why I wrote this book, I have seen the playbook. I know what to expect. I know what people can do. I understand how the legal process can work to your advantage or not. And all of that information is in here. for you to take in, learn from my mistakes, learn from my wins, and prepare to build the next great brand off of all of the dumb shit that I did. Some of the stuff was smart, some of the shit was dumb. But now when I approach new businesses and new brands and new business partners, I haven't figured it all out, but I'm not making the same mistakes twice. And so the purpose of this book and the field guide at the end of each chapter and this podcast is so that you all are loaded up with the appropriate knowledge so that you can apply the principles to your own business and life and choose to succeed if you want to succeed. You can endure. Fortitudine vincimus, by endurance we conquer. You can only endure if you've got a goal that you're working towards and a dream that you're working towards. It then gives the suffering purpose. You can then have perspective. And so I hope this limited series podcast was helpful to you. We may keep it going. We may not. Let us know if we should. I actually really enjoyed going through it. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Thank you for buying the book. And hopefully we will cross paths in the future. Thank you.